On behalf of the Boy Scouts of America, Southwest Florida Council, I would like to welcome you to the 7th Annual Manatee District Distinguished Citizen Good Scout Award Dinner. We have honored individuals in the past who have rendered selfless service to our community, and this year is absolutely no exception, as we will honor an outstanding individual who has made many, many contributions to our community and beyond. Please now enjoy our opening video, which will be followed by the posting of the colors and our invocation by our scouts. So Charles, let's take a look. Thank you, Scouts. The Boy Scouts participating this evening are from Local Scout Troop 89, chartered by Christ Presbyterian Church at Lakewood Ranch. As they exit, let's give them a warm round of applause and our thanks. Let's enjoy our dinner. We'll be back. Thank you. One great thing here is everyone appears to be having a very good time. You know, you can't keep the crowd under control. That's a good sign for any event. A lot of energy. I'm Alan Butler, and it is my honor and privilege to be your MC this evening when we honor my very dear friend, Bob Blaylock. I'd like to welcome you again to the 7th Annual Distinguished Citizen Good Scout Award Dinner. Your attendance and support this evening enable Scouting to deliver a character-building program to youth in our community. The Distinguished Citizen Award is presented annually in our community to honor an individual whose good works reflect the values at the very heart of Scouting and whose life serves as a role model to our young people. And I have some recognitions I'd like to make. We have some special guests this evening. 2 special guests are in attendance. I'd like them to stand. First is Ron Urban, who is the volunteer chairman for Manatee County for the District of the Southwest Florida. Ron is in the back. Thank you, Ron. And Dom DeMayo is a volunteer president of the Southwest Florida Council, which serves our 7-county region from Bradenton to Naples. Dom, would you please stand and take some applause? Can't see him, but I talked to him earlier. Thank you. The Distinguished Citizen Dinner is made possible through the work of a dedicated steering committee. I call your attention to our steering committee in your dinner program and would now ask these individuals to stand and be recognized for their efforts in organizing this evening. And would they please stand at this time? First is Bob Christopher, here. Eagle Scout Cliff Walters. You know, being an Eagle Scout is like a Marine. You know, you're always a Marine. And particularly Gene Fogarty, who won the Steering Committee Award for most phone calls, most tickets. You know, when Gene calls, you know you're in trouble, you know, but it's always for a good cause. So, Gene, thank you. Make sure you cancel your credit card number after Gene gets it. So. And also, we had a steering committee that we had steering committee members that made many of the phone calls that gave you the opportunity to participate tonight, and I'd like to identify them by name. Ron Allen, Beverly Bell, Bill Blaylock, Bob Cozy, Bob Firkins, Pierrette Kelly, Dr. Larry Lieberman, Dan Love, Mark McLaughlin, Trudy Moon, Eagle Scout Jerry Neff, Bud Parent, Chris Pennywell, Kemp Rickman, Gardner Sherrill, Tyrone Shin, Dr. Steve Tinsworth, Dick Turner, and once again, Rod Urban. Thank you very much, folks. And this evening would not be possible without the generosity of many supporters and dinner sponsors. And in your program, you'll see the special guardian and patron supporters. In addition to that, I'd like to mention the Gold Eagle sponsor that's here tonight. Full table Eagle level dining sponsor is Synovus Bank, and Dom DeMayo is that lead gift. Thank you, Dom. You know, we're in downtown Bradenton, and I told Dom early in the evening that I had walked down to the Pier restaurant to have lunch today, and I noticed the Synovus Bank sign is on the new construction site for the new hotel that's going across from the Bradenton offices next to the old Players site. So thank you, Dom, for downtown Bradenton and Boy Scouts. So we have some Silver Eagle sponsors, and would you please stand as I call your name and company? And would you please hold your applause until the end? We have Bells Incorporated with Dan Love. Dan, would you please stand. Beverly Bell and Kemp Reichman Foundation. Beverly and Kemp cannot be with us this evening, but they're certainly with us in spirit. Blaylock Walters, PA, Tony Barterome. Hey, please stand. You can all stand. We're Faulkner Farms, Steve Servin. NDC Construction, Ron Allen. Stonegate Bank, Tyrone Shin. And SunTrust Bank, Alan Brinkman. Thank you, one and all. Applause, please. And we have a very special thanks to Charles Clapsaddle and METV. Charles is hidden over here, as he always is, for their time and talents in the production this evening and the audiovisual presentation. This is a personal comment. This is not on my script, but Charles, he's everywhere you go, And Charles is the video contemporary for the 21st century that Paul Bartley was for photography in the 20th century. That's some old-time stuff, but anyway, I think it's the same. Anyway, Charles, thank you very much, and we owe you a round of applause. Thank you. And we are here in the Manatee Performing Arts Center and the Bradenton Kiwanis Club, and we want to thank the Performing Arts Center and Kiwanis for appreciation for at least giving us the space tonight. So thanks to that. Very special thanks to Bob's close friends who have gathered individually and as couples at several tables this evening in support of Bob, and to all the others that have supported this event so generously. And finally, this is a scouting event, and I would like to ask all Eagle Scouts to please stand. Please remain standing. Do not sit down. And now I would like all of you who are either Boy or Girl Scouts to stand. Please continue standing. And finally, all families that have either children or grandchildren in scouting, would you please stand? So as you can see, in its own quiet way, scouting has had a tremendous influence on our city, our county, and our country. Thank you very much. You may take your seats. At this time, I have the pleasure of introducing Mr. Steve Shoemaker, who is one of our fine scout leaders in Manatee County. Steve became involved in scouting over 14 years ago when his son joined the Cub Scout program. Steve has served in many roles, not only as a unit leader, but in county and Southwest Florida Council level positions as well. Professionally, Steve has over 26 years in law enforcement and currently serves as Patrol Division Midnight Shift Commander with the Sarasota Police Department. Steve, we look forward to you sharing with us this evening your perspective on how scouting is impacting your family and our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here with us tonight. Okay. I'm not real keen on microphones, so just to let y'all know. We all talk about scouting from the adult perspective. What I wanted to talk about tonight was something a little bit different. It's an adult perspective on how scouting affects young people in my experience. Not something that I've read in a book, not something that people have told me. These are things that I've seen on the street in different parts of the community that I work, the communities that I work with. And I'm not going to tell you about all of them. There's about 4 that really stand out in my mind. I'm going to tell you about one. And it's going to be quick because I know we want to move on and I'm ready to get back. So the one that I'm going to talk about, midnight shift. Actually, it wasn't too awful long ago. It was probably about a year ago. And working a midnight shift, responded to an area. I'm the lieutenant. I'm not supposed to respond anywhere. I have people for that. And they do an awesome job. But in this case, I happen to be the guy that was out and about in that area. So this call comes out, suspicion call, on on a young person, and they gave a description, and lo and behold, I happen to be around there, and I find someone who matches the description. So I pull up, and I'm talking to him. I'm buying time until my people. So when this young guy, 15 years old, takes off and runs, well, I can't stand there because I can't let my guys see me stand there and let this young guy just outrun me, really bad. I got to put a good effort into it. So I was ready, and I'm kind of, positioning myself and this, that, and the other, talking and doing this, that, and the other, and the interaction was going sideways. It was going downhill. So I don't know why. I was speaking to this guy, and he was getting more and more upset, and I'm not sure why. I think that he had been in that community long enough that, and I'll tell you, it was the Newtown community is where I've spent most of my career. As a shift commander for Midnights, I'm shift commander for the whole city. I happened to be in Newtown that night, in that area at that time, and this was a young black man about 15 years old. He did, his clothing matched the description. He's walking around, somebody called. I don't know that was the guy, but that's why I'm talking to him. So he was offended a little bit by that, and our conversation and contact was going downhill. And as I'm talking, I don't know why, maybe I was just hoping that I could get him distracted by talking about something. I happened to mention, were you ever a scout? I don't know why, but I did. And lo and behold, this guy that was walking north of Martin Luther King Boulevard by about 3 blocks in the dark, had street lights, but the trees had covered them all up, so it was pretty dark. He said, well, yes, that he was. And I'll be daggone if the conversation didn't change gears. And it moved away from the direction that it was going. And I was able to have a pretty lengthy conversation with that young man. And it turned out very well. But the most important thing that struck me was that scouting had touched him inside. Scouting's not the most popular thing in some communities that I work in, to include that community. But he was part of it when it was there, and it made a difference. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll put to you that this is why we're here. Not for the patches, not for the uniform, which is way cool, by the way. And we get to do a whole lot of stuff. But the thing is we're here for our young people. I'm here for your children and grandchildren. And for the scouting leaders that are here, thank you very much for your service. And I expect you to be there for my boys. And they were. I have 2 boys that went through the program. Neither one achieved Eagle, which they both could have. And they both told me, Daddy, I regret that I didn't do it. And I go, well, I understand. But that's a lesson too. That put something in their mind and in their heart that they could have achieved, and they didn't have the vision. So think about this. I talked to a young man as a result of my work who was touched so much that his attitude immediately changed just by the mere mention of scouting. You, ladies and gentlemen, I would ask you, if you haven't done this, to refer to the signs on my right and my left, the Scout Oath and the Scout Law. These are things in the mission of scouting that we instill these values in the young people that are part of our program, the program that I believe in. Talks about things like honor, duty to God, duty to others. Talks about character traits. I can think of no more important character traits for a young man or a young woman to have than these 12. So that's why we're here. That's why we so appreciate you folks stepping forward in your busy schedules and taking time to be with us and taking time to think a little bit and take care of a little bit the youth of our country. Because one day, as I told my friends in the back, one day we'll be ready to hand the reins off to somebody. So think about what your legacy is going to be. Who are you going to hand the reins off to? I want it to be someone who lives by this. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. We're honored tonight to have several past Distinguished Citizen Good Scout Award recipients with us, and I'd like to ask them to stand and hold your applause until the end. Eagle Scout Jerry Neff received the award in 2013. Eagle Scout Cliff Walters received the award in 2016. Pat Neal received the award in 2014, and I don't believe Pat is with us tonight. Additionally, the entire Braden and Kiwanis Club received the award in 2015, and if all the members of the Braden and Kiwanis Club that are here would stand, please. I think there's several. Okay, there we go. Thank you. So let's give a round of applause for our past award winners. Now, as you know, this evening's honoree is Bob Blaylock. In a few moments, the Honorable Gilbert Smith, Jr. will make the well-deserved presentation. Prior to this evening's ceremony, I thought, as MC, to get a little background on Bob's Boy Scout experience as a young man, and Bob was kind enough to share a little history with me. The Blaylock family scouting history goes back to the 1930s when Bob's father, Dan Blaylock Sr., along with 20 or so other local businessmen, including R.M. Bell Sr., formed the Manatee County Boys Development Association with the intent to purchase the land on which Camp Flying Eagle now exists. They bought the land and then leased it to the Boy Scouts for the magnificent sum of $1 a year. 20 years later, young Bobby Blaylock and other members of Troop 12, sponsored by the First Baptist Church, would use these same facilities. Members of that troop, among others, were Sid Stubbs, Gene Page, Lamar Matthews, Larry Bussell, Greg Bussell, and Bob Bell. And the troop was led by a locally famous World War I vet named Oscar Brewer. Bobby must have been quite the Boy Scout. Bobby, as head camper, led Troop 12 to victory in every scouting camporee they entered. Bob was known and feared among the other competing troops as one-match Blaylock, able to light a fire with one match under any conditions of wind, rain, or wet wood. And Bob swore to me that no kerosene was present. Bob also tells me that under his leadership, and given Troop 12's First Baptist Church sponsorship, there was never any grapevine smoking or skinny dipping. It appears, according to the official record, that Troop 12 was the only troop in Sutherland Council to make this claim. You could question the veracity of Bob's comment. Now, Camp Flying Eagle specifically, and it's not shown in the official records of the camp, Bobby lays claim to the record for the largest snipe, ever shot during the required midnight snipe hunt. Apparently, according to Bobby, it was a 20-pounder. Bobby reached the rank of Life Scout and would have made Eagle, but at the age of 13, and with his testosterone rising, changed from a Boy Scout to a Girl Scout. Bob had asked for a few, Bob today, had asked for a few minutes on the program to demonstrate his continuing knot proficiency by simultaneously tying a sheep shank with his left hand and a bowline with his right. But sadly, we are out of time. So hopefully you'll excuse a little humor at Bob's expense, and we will now move on to the real reason we are here. At this time, I'd like to call on the past Scouting District Chairman for the Manatee District and current board member of the Southwest Florida Council Executive Board, the Honorable Judge Gilbert Smith, Jr., for our Good Scout Award presentation.
Hello, everyone, and good evening. Now, at this time, I'm going to direct your attention to our screen for a special video honoring the evening's honoree, Bob Blaylock.
Long before you ever get a chance to meet him in person, you hear about Bob. And you hear about Bob in the community because he has touched nearly every single charitable act, all of the good work that takes place in Manatee County. You can trace so much of it back to Bob. So you hear about him as a legend before you even get an opportunity to meet him.
Bob has been instrumental and a catalyst in many community projects and efforts throughout his career. He's inspired all of us around him and his work together toward a better community. Examples are McKechnie Field and the Manatee Community Foundation.
It's hard to think of someone that would be more deserving of the award than Bob, given the breadth of work he has done for Bradenton, Manatee County, the larger Southwest Florida area, and his family.
Bob, both in his profession and in family relationship, has been the epitome of being trustworthy. Bob, you can count on.
When you think of the words distinguished citizen, and when you think of the words Boy Scouts and all of the things that those words stand for, Bob Blaylock comes to mind.
When thinking about the Scout law, loyal is the thing that comes forth for me. He has certainly been loyal to his friends, to his business, to the community, and has helped in so many ways that we really don't know about. And this is just has to be, should be, and I'm glad it is.
He is respected and thought well of in the community because of the honesty and trustworthiness of what he has done, in spite of all the other Scout laws that can all be attributed to Bob. That, to me, is the most foremost one in my relationship with him over the years, both as a friend and for his legal counsel.
But one of the things that's not in the Scout law that should be, as far as Bob is concerned, is modesty. When we were approached to help put together this event, I was not even aware that Bob was deeply involved in Scouting and had done a number of wonderful things for Scouts. So Bob is the type that does all these things in the background, modestly, never brags about them, and you never know what his body of work is.
If you've ever gone fishing with Bob, you know clean wouldn't be his characteristic. He keeps his bait, beer, and sandwiches all in the same cooler.
Several of us went fishing one Saturday morning and were out on the boat and in a little canal, and Bob took a moment of reflection. And the next thing you know, we've slipped a bait bucket onto his line, dunked it in the water, filled it full of water, and then jerked the line and told him he had a hook. And he wakes up, starts reeling in real fast, and fights for at least 2-3 minutes. He fights this bait bucket up to the boat, which was a great laughter and joy for everyone attending. And for that, I almost wish that we had a bronzed bait bucket that we could give to him tonight in reflection of that wonderful moment and experience.
At the first board meeting, Bob asked me to sit on his immediate left, and I was happy to do so because I thought I'd be sitting at the feet of banking law wisdom. But about the third or fourth meeting, I asked Bob, why do you want me to always sit on your immediate left? And he said, it's very simple, Alan. He said, if I want you to vote yes, I'm going to tap on your right foot with my left foot. If I want you to vote no, I'm going to tap on your left foot. And I said, well, Bob, you haven't tapped on my foot as of yet. And he said, well, that's true. So far your voting's okay, but I'm worried about the future.
It takes a strong leader, one with great courage, to step out and lead the way on community initiatives and philanthropic initiatives that truly make a difference. And Bob is one of those leaders who's never afraid to step out first, and people follow him because they recognize the courage that he has. This is such an incredible role model for young people, and I would follow Bob anywhere.
I think he sees things in a more strategic and global level for the community, and has been pushing for things good to happen and happen in the right way that makes his efforts quiet but significant.
Bob loves his community deeply. He loves the state of Florida. He loves his country. So when he sees items that are going in the wrong direction, that he believes is going in the wrong direction, he becomes very pronounced about it. I think he's blessed. He feels blessed that he lives here, and he wants to give back to the community. But it isn't in a spirit of needing to repay. It's more a deep understanding of duty to others and the best professional fulfillment.
Bob Blaylock is such an adoring part of our community, and I think he thinks of the entire community as part of his family. But when it comes to his wonderful wife and daughter and extended family, he is so caring and committed to them and the passions that they have for our community. He is a true role model when it comes to caring for the family, letting us know how we can make the biggest difference, not only in the larger context of community and family, but as it relates to looking at his own family first.
Bob, Kay and I would like to add our personal congratulations to you on the receiving of this honor. You've done a wonderful job for Manatee County, for Scouting, for the institutions and the families represented here. We wish you the very best and thank you for what you have done.
Bob, I would love to congratulate you on behalf of everyone at Manatee Community Foundation, on behalf of all of the donors you have worked with over so many years, on behalf of all of the nonprofits and causes that you have so greatly impacted. Congratulations to you. You so deserve this special honor.
Bob, I want to congratulate you on this award. You have done so much for this community in your service over the years, and it is truly appreciated. And most importantly, I want to thank you for being my friend.
Now, at this time, I want to ask Bob and Marlene, if you would please come to the stage. And Gardner, if you'd like to escort Marlene, that'd be great. Now, before we're going to present this award to Bob, we're going to recognize Marlene. And because she
That's why Gilbert's known as a smart judge.
And these flowers, these are Fuji mums, which I believe have some historical significance to Marlene. I believe she got those 53 years ago.
I did.
That's
Thank
right.
you. Yes, that were in my wedding bouquet. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. The Southwest Florida Council, Boy Scouts of America, is proud to honor Bob Blaylock with the Southwest Florida Council Manatee County Distinguished Citizen Good Scout Award. Bob, over many years, has distinguished himself in the community by demonstrating unselfish service to others while exemplifying, through his actions, those important values held in such regard by scouting. Now, I go back quite a few years with Bob. In fact, when I got to know Bob and Marlene, I was just starting in Boy Scouts from Cub Scouts, which is quite a few years ago, isn't it? Quite a few. And so Bob was a leader in my church, and which meant he was also a leader with the scouting program there. And he got an opportunity to observe me in scouting, and never asked him to comment about that. I'm not going to ask him tonight. Of course, I'm sort of opening myself up a little bit here. But I always had such a honor for Bob, and was so proud to know him. And he's been a mentor in terms of leadership. But I will tell you this: is I have watched him through the leadership in my church, and through scouting, and through also other organizations. I've really held him in awe of what he's accomplished and how he does it. And all of us here today understand how he does that. And a lot of times he's very quiet about it, and he's in the background. But he shows that leadership, the same leadership that Steve Shoemaker earlier talked about, which are in the Scout Law and in the Scout Promise. So, at this time, I want to talk about this award that Bob's going to receive. The statuette is a small replica, and Alan, if you would hold that up, of the famous original called the Ideal Boy Scout, sculpted by Dr. Tate McKenzie. And Dr. McKenzie was a surgeon, physical educator, artist, and a sculptor, and he was a personal friend of Sir Lord Baden-Powell, who was the founder of Scouting. And when he was asked in 1914 to create a tangible statue that would stand as a symbol for what Scouting stood for. And so he sculpted this beloved statue portrayed as the ideal Boy Scout. And the sculptor, who was a longtime Scouter himself, tried to portray the personal traits of character that he knew that instilled in a boy by Scouting. And the uncovered head represented reverence and obedience. The axe on which the hand rests was a symbol of George Washington's truthfulness. And later, this statue, a copy of which now stands in front of the National Boy Scout office in Irvine, Texas, is life-size. And so at this time, I want to present the Distinguished Citizen Good Scout Award to Bob Blaylock for 2017.
Thank you.
Yep. We'll hold that for you.
Okay. It is not many people that get the opportunity to be around to hear their own funeral. But I thank the judge for these unnecessary remarks, or unearned remarks, I guess I should say. But I appreciate everyone being here tonight. I think the Scouts appreciate it, and that's perhaps more important, because they will hopefully profit from this. But I'd like to mention a few things here. Won't take me more than half an hour. But just to bring some thoughts to mind for those who went to Camp Flying Eagle. And think about these. These are things at Flying Eagle. I don't know if have any of you been out there. How many have ever been out to this beautiful, beautiful pristine property. But think of the concepts of Hidden Lake, swimming in the Manatee River with and without, the Council Bluffs, playing Capture the Flag on the most wonderful site for such, and learning to locate the North Star at night, because you can see so much when you're out from the city or the town. I don't know if you can, with all the growth that's going on out there, you may not still be able to do, but you just don't realize the beauty of the stars till you get away from the city, and we were fortunate enough to do that. We were also fortunate enough, it was mentioned earlier, those of us in Troop 12, to have this World War I veteran who was gassed, and he, as a result of that, all he ever did was to be a scoutmaster. And he published a small paper in Palmetto that has been gone for 30 or 40 years, but he devoted his life to teaching us astronomy, patriotism. We had more things to do in our troop than any other troop before we could even become a tenderfoot and then move on to the other, but he was a real taskmaster. My wife gets tired of me telling her from time to time some of his comments that he had as we would cook out, and he would teach us how to ecologically, even back then, dispose of the things that we weren't going to use around and so we had to put this where the small animals, so Marlene gets tired of me saying, now you got to put that over the hill for the small animals. So anyway, they are things that have stood me in good stead, and that I've thought of a lot. And I asked Bob Bell if he does that to Aldana. He says no, but we'll have to ask her about that later. But I thank you all for coming, and I thank the Scouts for this this award. Thank you. I want to say one more thing. I don't think Marlene got enough recognition for putting up with me and Troop 12 and all of the things that she has, but I will guarantee you it is a pleasure to be have been with her for, what is it, 25 years? Time flies when you're having fun. Thanks a lot.
I don't see this one item listed under the Scout law, and I guess we can have a Scout is timely. So once again, on behalf of the youth that are served by the Boy Scouts of America in our region, thank you for your support. It will help pave the way for thousands of today's youth to become tomorrow's leaders. In difficult times, rest assured, Scouting is one of the few investments that can guarantee a 100% return on your investment. Good night. Once again, congratulations to Bob and Marlene, and thank you for coming. We are adjourned.